Let's talk some sports, baby.
Taken by Iguodala. Iguodala to Curry. Back to Iguodala. Up for the layup. Oh, blocked by Jones.
And remember, make tomorrow better than today, and make today better than yesterday. And you know what we gonna do. We gonna holler at you until next time, baby.
All right, guys, let's wrap up tonight in the NFL with some players, coaches, and teams under pressure. The offseason has set the stage for a very interesting season. Some coaches find themselves on the hot seat before a snap has been played. Some teams are under immense pressure to succeed, and there's big-name players with a lot to prove. So let's go down the list under the most pressure in 2020. And, Jay, we'll start with the team. Who do you think is under the most pressure as the team?
I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens. This is a team. We know how dominant they were in the regular season last year with a record of 14-2. And then they got to the playoffs, and that Tennessee Titan Derrick Henry show came through, and just they got punched in the mouth. They couldn't recover. Lamar Jackson was uncomfortable, and they were put in a position where they really weren't put in pretty much all the second half of last season. And we talked about the schedule recently. They got the easiest schedule. We all agree they had one of the best drafts. They restocked, they reloaded. They got Duvernay, another target for Lamar Jackson. They added J.K. Dobbins, so the running game is going to, we expect it to be as good, if not a little bit better. And I think it's fair to say we expect Lamar Jackson to take another step. And with all that in mind, I don't see any reason to why 12, 13 wins is what we should expect. And that division, Cincinnati's not going to be ready. And although Cleveland and Pittsburgh, I think there's potential, they also got some question marks. They could very easily not be good. So I think Baltimore's under pressure. I think they'll rise to it, but I'd be very surprised. And I think it'd be very disappointing if Baltimore wasn't as good as they were last year.
Yeah, I agree with that pick. That was a wonderful pick. I went with the Green Bay Packers, and the reason being, listen, Jada made it very known how he felt about the tomfoolery and the fire-ring circus in the offseason. We just heard with Aaron Rodgers how he feel about it. And here's the gist. 13-3, one game away from the Super Bowl. This year, you got to think, if you don't meet that plateau, I don't know what you do with Aaron Rodgers. You go from being one of the one of the NFC elites to you probably be a doormat. Because if Aaron Rodgers is gone, you throwing in Justin Love here, Jordan Love, and then you got Devontae Adams out there flopping in the wind now. He became one of the top wide receivers in the NFL because of Aaron Rodgers. And then you got this guy that you drafted. I don't even know what his name is, but you got this guy that you decided to draft at the end of the draft. You got this cat, you got these running backs. You got the defense that you invested heavily in. That now what you're going to ask them to pull the old Chicago, hey, carry us on your shoulders. Listen, I think this year, if they don't get it done, we always expect teams to do better. Like we said, there was one game from the Super Bowl. I don't really see them being in the Super Bowl, so I can really see this going soft really, really fast for the Green Bay Packers. So I picked the Green Bay Packers to say they will become from one of the elite NFC teams to one of the doormats in about a year and a half.
Yeah, I went with New Orleans, although I like both y'all's picks a lot. I think in New Orleans, and we're talking about last dances. I think that this is probably the last ride for Drew Brees, and I'm not certain he retires, but it does seem like his comfy gigs and the booth are all lined up, and he's just got to be close to hanging it up. And this is a team that's been a Super Bowl contender for the last couple of years. They've always found a tragic way to slip up and lose in the playoffs, and you got to think they don't have many more chances. So I feel like this team, as good as they had a pretty solid draft, they've had a good offseason. Yeah, the Breeze is coming back. I mean, they should be a team that contends again. They're going to have to really prove that they can get it done, when it comes time in the playoffs. All right, Jake, we'll move on to quarterback. Who do you have for that?
Oh, yeah, baby. You know what it is. It's Mr. Five Stash himself, Baker Mayfield. Listen, here's the deal. Last year you could have chalked up that season to, overhype. They didn't quite build a team as good as they thought they had. You got a head coach out here that was the equivalent of a hockey puck. And then now you got you had guys out here dying on the team left and right. But here's the deal. You don't have that excuse this year. You went out, you went in, you filled the positions that you needed to fill. The offensive line, you got more pass catchers. That defense got stronger. So you got a head coach that seems to have everybody thinking that he's an adult, including me, that he can get the job done. It's no more excuses, Baker Mayfield. It's no more. You have to take that step forward. If you do not make that step, you could go join Johnny Manziel. You're out of here, buddy. You can go ahead and get on out. Yes, I said it. I'm going to tell you why. Because when you come in the NFL with a certain ego that Baker Mayfield has now, and you don't perform, who wants to deal with you? Like, who wants to deal with you? Let me tell you what they like, especially as a number 2 quarterback, that plain, quiet guy that don't say nothing. He just comes in, that Brian Hoyer guy just warms it up, just warm up the arm. You don't even know what he sound like when he talk. That is what you want in the backup quarterback. You don't want a Colin Kaepernick as your backup quarterback. You don't want a Cam Newton as your backup quarterback. You cannot have a quarterback, your backup quarterback, talking more trash than the starter. And that's what you would get with Baker Mayfield. So if he want to maintain a starting quarterback position in today's NFL, he better step forward because the excuses are gone now. Either you're going to get it done or you're not. So, yeah, I went with Baker Mayfield.
Can't argue a whole lot. That's a really good pick. Well, you know where I'm going. I'm going down to Lone Star State and America's team, so they're known, with the quarterback that still don't have a contract. I haven't seen that news hit. I haven't seen a contract news from Adam Schefter, so I'm operating on this assumption he still ain't got paid. So, but it's Dak Prescott, and I don't want to hear none of this crap about, you got a new coach, Mike McCarthy, installing whatever he's doing. I don't want to hear it. It's time. Because, listen, Cowboys have made offers. You said they weren't good enough. So, I don't know. It's time to show me something. I'm not talking about throwing for 4,000 yards and career highs and touchdowns or whatever. It's time to go back, win some games, get in the playoffs, and go. Because offensively, you still got Zeke. You got Amari Cooper. You got Michael Gallup. And they gave you a Christmas present at the end of April with CeeDee Lamb coming to town. So you got a plethora of weapons. It's time to bring it. And outside of the Eagles, the NFC East, the Giants and Redskins, they're not going to be very good. So it's time to win.
Yeah, I went a little more off the wall here. I'm thinking that Teddy Bridgewater is a guy that's under a lot more pressure. And you would think at first you go, okay, well, he just signed that big contract. Why would he be? But it's a 3-year deal. And it's a regime that, seems to have the keys for a couple years, right? This Matt Rule, Joe Brady experiment feels like they're going to be there for a while. They're going to get more than just a season or two. And that 2020 quarterback class, we talked about it before the show, and maybe the jury's still out more than I think. But, you got guys that are commodities like Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence. And you also have guys like Trey Lance, North Dakota State, and some other guys that could be in. We know how these quarterback classes go. As the year goes on, dudes get hyped up. You could have 4 or 5 quarterbacks going to the top 10 next year. And the Panthers, we assume they're probably going to struggle to a degree with that brand new defense and whatnot. If they're bad and Bridgewater looks just okay, I think it would be tempting if the Panthers are in the top 3 or top 5 picks to maybe go after a new quarterback and really start fresh, then maybe, rolling with what they've got. I think that temptation might be there. Let's go ahead and move on to wide receiver, Jay. Who you got?
The dude that played with Baker Mayfield up there in Cleveland, and I'm not talking about Jarvis Landry. I'm talking about Odell Beckham. Listen, last season, Odell's first season in Cleveland, we spent more time talking about some of the attire and the extracurricular than what he was doing catching passes. We talking about wearing watches. We talking about chains. We talking about wearing the wrong shoes. We talking about going to the national championship game and throwing money at players. Just so much nonsense, and there's not enough actual stuff that we need to be talking about, which is catching passes, gaining yards for your team, and getting in the end zone, contributing to winning. And it's not only Odell. He's not the only issue. Baker Mayfield, right along with him, problematic. But you can't just blame all of it on Baker Mayfield, because we've seen Odell dominate with suspect quarterback play. We know when he was in New York, Eli Manning has been just a train wreck for years, but he could still from time to time, many a time, just get the ball out quick, and Odell could make it happen. So you can't tell me he can't do it. We just got to see it. Odell's under the most pressure at that position.
Yeah, I agree with Jay. Listen, I would challenge someone to tell me another player that's considered top 10 in their position that do less than Odell Beckham has done in the last, 2 to 3 years. Listen, here's the deal. You had a chance to put your name in folklore, but you decided to go to Miami and be on the boat. You had a chance to show us that you was the real deal. You decided to fight something on the sideline or whatever you was beating up on the sideline. Here's the deal. When you're looking more like a WWE superstar than an NFL superstar, it's a problem here. You're starting to be more of a prop than you are a player. And listen, with all that said, Odell Beckham is a hell of a player. He showed us he can be hell of a player, but the problem is he won't put it together to give us a finished product on the field. And this is why they're considered trading him again. Listen, a guy of Odell Beckham's talent shouldn't be traded this much. Hell, Josh Gordon smoked weed and been suspended half of the time, and he didn't get traded this much. So now you want to tell me that, this guy's the best thing since sliced bread, but he almost getting dealt to the Dolphins. Like, that's not it. So what needs to happen here is Odell needs to focus on the game of football. He needs to go back to being that superstar guy. I'm like, what has he done since the three-finger catch in a game that they lost anyway? But what has he done? You know what I mean? Like, give me something, Odell, other than a bunch of lip service and the after party after the national championship. That's just not going to cut it. So I need Odell Beckham to step it up.
Yeah, that's probably the best answer. I mean, that's a lot more bark than bite right now. I was thinking a little bit different. I'm looking at Amari Cooper, the Cowboy under a lot of pressure. I think the whole team is under a good bit of pressure, like you said. But I think that one thing that Amari Cooper's looking at now is the fact that CeeDee Lamb fell into their lap in the draft, a guy that wasn't really supposed to be there. And he signed that big contract recently, but they do have a sizable way to get out of it without much penalty after this next season. So if he doesn't perform very well, and CeeDee Lamb has a great rookie campaign, Dallas, a team that's always kind of up there with salary, they may be looking to shed some salary somewhere, and Amari Cooper could be the one that gets out of town, and really may not be a fault of his own, but he's going to have to really turn it up this year to make sure he's the guy that stays in Dallas and keeps getting those big paychecks. All right, Drink, we'll go back over to the defensive side of the ball. What do you have for that?
Hey, now, it was easy for me. This one, Khalil Mack, I don't know. Somebody put an APP out on him. Listen, Khalil Mack ain't showed up since he signed that big payday. I don't know what this was about, but I tell you what, John Gruden don't look so stupid, no, because everybody, we was up in arms. Hey, what you doing, John? Khalil Mack? Oh, you kidding me? You got rid of Amari Cooper? Well, just like Jay said, if the picks pan out, he don't look so bad right now. You got Amari Cooper. You just said he's the wide receiver under the most pressure. He's in limbo. We got Khalil Mack. What has he really impacted since signing that big deal? If you remember his first, 3 to 4 games with Chicago, he was a home wrecker. Oh, he was tearing it up. But he didn't – somebody hit the mute button on that volume thus far, and he has not lived up to the contract. And the big contract that is where he's like 40, 50% of the doggone salary cap for the team, he's not living up to it. So I got to think Khalil Mack don't get it done this year. Chicago got to be parting ways with him if he do not live up to the productivity of the contract that he signed.
I agree 100% with this one. I think it's Khalil Mack. When you look at when that trade was originally made in that 2018 season, the Bears were the most dominant defense in football, and they were led by Khalil Mack. There was a whole lot of other pieces on that defense that contributed, but Khalil Mack was that piece that they added that made them great, pushed them over the top. But then we saw last season they had some exits. I thought immediately as soon as Vic Fangio left and Chuck McConnell came in, I thought that was going to significantly impact that defense, and they did take a step back. Now, they were still good, but they were in no way the same defense. You also had Adrian Amos leave out to Green Bay, a couple other exits from that defense, and consequently, the Bears as a team took a huge step back because they were 12-4 division winners in 2018, and last year they were a mediocre team because offensively we knew what they were, not much to write home about. So, and I think it's going to be more the same this year unless that Bears defense ratchets it back up under Chuck Pagano.
Yeah, I had Mac as well for this. That now that we have that trade in the rearview mirror, the Raiders are going to get they got Josh Jacobs from one of the picks, and now they're going to get see what Damon Arnett does, which we all thought was a reach at the time. But hey, the kid hasn't played a snap yet, so we'll see how it turns out. But like Drink had mentioned too, that trade's looking kind of suspect now that Mac is not living up to that price tag. I mean, 8.5 sacks is not that impressive. It's the second lowest number since his rookie year. And like you said, that defense, it went from monsters of the midway to mid of the midway pretty quick. And they're going to have a lot to prove because that defense, again, they have to carry the team. And Khalil Mack he's the centerpiece. When you're paid that kind of money, you are the leader of that defense, whether you like it or not. So not only does he have his own personal stats and things like that to bring back up, but he's got to put that defense on his back and be a force that can carry the Bears, because we know that offense, Nick Foles or whoever else, that's not it. So we'll wrap up with Coach Jay. Who you got?
Oh, we're going out to L.A., and I ain't talking about Anthony Lynn. I'm talking about Sean McVay. You refer to him as Big Brain, Mr. Big Brain Offense, or whatever it is. Listen, we're gonna find out something this year, because there ain't gonna be no excuses about Todd Gurley and his knees don't work all that good, and we don't know why he ain't getting the ball. You got Cam Akers out there, so we'll see how that develops. But listen, the onus is going to be on Jared Goff, and I'm going to need Sean McVay to go back there and prop him on back up to where he somewhat measures up to that contract, which they restructured it, so you don't have to look. Your back ain't got to hurt all that much. You ain't got to prop him up to so much because you restructured the contract already, only after one season. But when I look at that division, we know San Francisco and Seattle going to be there, and Arizona's coming a little bit. I don't know if it's this year, but it's a very real possibility. The Rams could be. You talk about the Packers being off the rails in the basement. The Rams could be joining them very quickly. It could be this year, depending on how the Cardinals get it together. But I'm just looking at them, and I look at the defense too. When you get around Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, and I know they brought back Michael Brockers, but really when you look outside of Donald and Ramsey, I don't even know what they got over there. I really don't. So Jared Goff, it's going to be on Jared Goff. Jared Goff got to show us something, and we know what Jared Goff shows us. It's going to be because of Sean McVay. So it's Sean McVay.
Yeah, I went with Mr. Wood Pencil, Mr. Hostile Work Environment himself, Matt Patricia. Here's the deal. I think that goose is cooked, to be perfectly honest, because he's running around here just pissing people off left and right, and he hasn't showed anything. Here's a guy with an elitist attitude, but a role player performance, and not even a role player performance. I can't, maybe a practice squad performance. You know what I mean? Listen, you're running around here with your chest out for what? What have you done? Who are you? No. We know who Bill is. If he want to have his chest out, that's one thing. Who are you? You haven't done nothing but sharpen pencils and found out different ways to put them behind your ear for no apparent reason, because you ain't drawing up a game plan with it. So I don't even understand why you got it. You look like an architect getting ready to rebuild a bridge. That's what you look like. So here's the deal. We're at the end of the road with Patricia. He's out of here. He might well have gone blow the dust off that resume and get ready to be somebody's coordinator, because I don't see him being the head coach at this time next year.
Yeah, two great choices. I should say Doug Marrone, but we don't fire people around here. So I'll go with Dan Quinn. This is a guy that he was on the hot seat all of last year. Atlanta, you remember they started off real bad, and then they kind of salvaged the season. They got a little bit of a streak, but back-to-back 7-9 seasons. You got a quarterback really getting up there in age. Your division's getting really competitive. Two really good teams. Then once Carolina figures it out, they'll be good too. Atlanta they're kind of screaming rebuild to me and reset. So that's who I'm going with. Is old Dan Quinn hadn't been the same since that Super Bowl second half.